You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Okay, here we go.
Anyways.
I don't know why I'm so congested. I'm drinking peppermint tea. All right.
Maybe that's your problem. Get you some bourbon.
Hi, we're Enterprise Splaining, the podcast where we explain Star Trek Enterprise to each other and to you. I'm Bill, and these are my co-hosts, Jamie.
Hello.
And Maria.
Hello! I feel like I always have to match Bill's energy.
That's why I do what I do. Today, our mission is the Second Contact. Last week, I told my co-hosts what happened in the Star Trek Enterprise episode, Regeneration. They have now watched the episode and are back with their thoughts. So, make sure you listen to last week's episode before you listen to this one. As a quick reminder, we have merch available in our TeePublic store. Go to the ESO Network website, click on their TeePublic link. You'll find them there. Last week on Star Trek Enterprise, in a mild continuation of the First Contact movie, Borg survivors reawaken on Enterprise-era Earth and hightail it into space where they just so happen to be in the path of the NX-1. Hey, remember the Borg? They're back for the very first time, and Enterprise does an even better job of dealing with them than the TNG crew, so I guess that proves that this show is good. Nya, nya, nya. If I may editorialize. All right, you have seen Regeneration. What are your initial thoughts?
So it's been some time since we recorded the...
It's been a long road.
And since we watched, because we were originally going to record this Second Contact 2 weeks ago. And
Right.
we prepped for it, and then I got a concussion, and we had to put it off.
And therefore I have forgotten everything. But
Yeah,
I did take
Because Jamie got a
notes.
concussion, you forgot everything.
Listen, man, I forget everything regardless.
This was
so
a forgettable episode.
I would like to just start with my first note and my last note. My first note is everyone is dumb has to be the premise to make this work.
Right.
And my last note is I don't like time travel. They just clearly wanted to make a Borg episode, and they just did a bad job of shoving that square peg into that round hole, I think. Like, there were just too many bits that squeezed out on the ends.
So my first note, which I could not figure out what I meant by it, was just cool, shiny uniforms.
I can explain that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, what was it?
It's the three scientists exploring the Arctic. They're wearing like silver
Oh,
snow
yeah, they were
jackets.
in their snow.
Oh, yeah, they were in like
puffy
weird looking
snow jackets, yeah.
okay. But then my next note, which I had in quotation marks,
Mhm.
I wrote. So I wrote it in quotation marks, and I was like, "Is this a quote from the show?" And I wrote, "Are you kidding me? Give me a fucking break." Obviously,
That would be awesome.
That couldn't have
If
been from the show.
T'Pol had said that.
So I'm pretty sure that it was what Eric said the second he saw it was a Borg.
Oh, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I was completely confounded at how relaxed they were about these creatures that they had found that came back to life. I mean,
Yeah.
my note really is at least they were armed, but still so dumb. Like, it makes
They're
no
not like
sense.
putting them in isolation. There's like
At all.
nothing.
And then I have a note that says, don't pretend to be shocked at T'Pol for suggesting they destroy the ship. Because, like, that's your go-to move, man.
Yeah.
What are you... But he was all like, we can't do that. Like, just fucking destroy the ship, man. You can
That
do
gets into the larger Archer issue of like, who is this character? Because depending on what the show needs him to be, he's
That's right.
either
Mhm.
he's either a hotshot or he's a Boy Scout.
it. Yeah.
He's worldly wise or is completely naive.
Yeah. And I remember now that I kind of wanted to watch First Contact to remind myself of something, but I think there was a scene where they were like, nobody knew about the Borg when in First Contact, like when none of the current time people knew what had happened, but that's not true. Alfre Woodard knew, like she knew what was going on. She got like Picard told her everything.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
But also there, like, this is where my I hate time travel thing comes in, because they did that, they changed the timeline, so we can't really talk about things not being quite right
Ooh.
because the timeline changed, theoretically.
I
It's
don't-
annoying.
I didn't.
Did you
feel-
see First Contact?
Yeah, but do they
Yeah.
specifically
Oh, I see what
say
you're
that the
talking about.
timeline has been changed?
Well, they go back in time and change, like, so the Borg go back in time and change the timeline, and then
Well, they're stopping the Borg
Yeah,
from
they're
changing.
And they-
trying to
and they
change
go
the
back-
timeline, but then they stop
then they
them
go
from
back
changing
to
the timeline.
yeah, but they by doing that they interacted with the timeline and
Right,
told
they
Alfred
inserted
Woodard, and
themselves.
some shit changed. Like, so that is the
But then does that mean that Best of Both Worlds never happened? Like, I don't understand. I'm so confused.
Right. Oh,
that
that's
like,
what it
confuses
was.
me more.
That's what it was. It was when I was yelling about the fact that they said at the very end, they said, "Oh, I guess that they're going to find us. It's going to be however many 100 years for them to get in from the Delta Quadrant." And both Bill and I were like, "That's not how the
I
Borg
know, 'cause
discovered
it
us.
was Q. We
It was
already have a
Q."
reason.
And Steven's argument was, well, the timeline changed after First Contact, so we don't know. And I was like,
I'm sorry.
I fucking hate time travel.
No.
Bullshit, and I hate it. I'm not gonna.
You're really
I'm not gonna
overthinking
agree
The
it.
with
idea
that
that
shit.
that first contact changed the whole timeline, and so now everything that we saw in TNG may or may not have happened that way. No,
Hmm.
I don't. I don't
I don't
like
think
it.
that was
I
what
don't
he
like
wa-
it.
That's not what he was saying. He was saying it's plausible that it changed how the Borg found out about
But
us.
once you start
But
being
nothing
like
else.
some things can change, it means that everything could have
Right,
changed.
everything can change.
And
Yeah.
that the version that we saw was not the real version. And like I hate that.
And
I
it's-
hate it so much. I hate it.
And I understand that I am literally today wearing a Back to the Future shirt, but I fucking hate time travel. I hate it.
Yeah, so my problem with them coming up with a new reason for that is that, like, okay, look, I get it. This is a prequel series. They wanted to have a Borg story, so they came up
Right.
with some roundabout way to explain it. I am very happy to. I understand that's just how narratives work. Obviously, they didn't know the show would exist before. I'm not someone who cares about everything always being canon or whatever. But so you know, you want to wave away some of that. I'm fine. But the whole like, oh, now we came up with a new reason on like why the Borg ever came here. Well, we already had a reason, and you
Right.
could have just kept that line out. Like there wasn't a reason.
There was
for
no
it.
need to do that.
And now
Yeah.
it's confusing, like, because now you have two competing narratives. Yeah, and now we're getting into like, well, maybe there's other timelines to, and I'm like, no, just like, why did they just not have that line
Because-
and it would have been fine?
I agree. I think they just wanted to somehow be like, this you're not going to find out about them for until Next Generation. They wanted to close that loop, but it caused more problems, and it annoyed me very much.
I just,
I also feel like, come on, guys, at the end of this, you knew how dangerous these things were. You knew they knew about you and they were coming, and you didn't, make a note about it, talk about it, something. Just
Yeah.
because they didn't get the name the Borg. And then don't fucking get me started on the resistance is futile. Like, come on.
yeah. So this is like, okay. The main thing about the Borg is that they have a catchphrase. It is like the most iconic thing
It's their
about
thing.
the Borg. I'll put it this way. When I first watched Best of Both Worlds Part 1, which I watched after only seeing one TOS episode and knowing nothing else
Right.
about Star Trek, and the first time that I watched it, I gasped when they did their whole Borg catchphrase because I didn't know that came from Star Trek. Like
Oh,
this
wow.
was like a thing where I'm like, I know this.
It's gone into popular
Because it's in
cultural
popular
references.
culture, but I had no idea that it originated in Star Trek with the Borg. So I gasped the first time I heard it. That is how iconic the Borg catchphrase is. So the idea that in this episode the Borg just forget to say their catchphrase really bothers me.
Wait, no, I have an explanation.
Okay, what's your
Oh, boy.
We're
explanation?
still workshopping. They were like, okay, guys, I think resistance is futile. That has legs, but maybe we should introduce ourselves first.
First of all,
And it took him like 100 years to
no,
figure that
Maria,
out.
time travel. These are the future Borgs.
Oh, you're right.
So
You're
it doesn't
right.
work.
Okay, fine. They were like, okay, everybody knows who we are. Like, we can just cut this down and make it resistance is futile, and everything is fine.
Anyways, I'm
with
just
you.
mad because I do feel like they're the only aliens I can think of on Star Trek that like have a catchphrase.
Well, the Vulcans have live long and prosper.
That's true. That is true.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's a catchphrase.
That is
for
a
sure.
catchphrase. So my other thing is Admiral Forrest the only admiral?
Apparently.
So Admiral Forrest is obviously he's the contact, he's the like main point of contact for these deep space Starfleet missions, but also on the side he's the main point of contact for like Earth-based science missions. I just don't understand like why there aren't any other admirals.
They can't afford another actor. They just don't want another actor. It was just so shoehorned in, and I think that was what bothered me more than anything else. But it was kind of fun. Like, it was nice seeing the Borg. It was kind of a fun general, it was fine, but it wasn't good.
I thought it was a well put together episode, just in terms of the writing and the tension and how it was shot. It just doesn't work narratively because it's the Borg. If they
I think that's right. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. It was,
but they were treating it. Now, I understand that the characters in this show don't know who the Borg are, but the show was treating it like it was literally the first time the Borg showed up.
Right.
Which you can't do.
Right. I agree.
Because we know the rules of what you have to do with the Borg.
And then I hate to harp on this all the time, but the distance thing really, I don't understand how the Borg got all the way out to where the Enterprise was. I get they were upgrading the ship as they went, so it was getting faster and faster, but the fastest it got to by the time it got to them was 3.9 warp, I think. Right. But I'm like, were they spending months flying out there, or like, because it felt like a couple days. It felt like they got there in a couple days or something. And I'm like very confused about how the Borg ship got all the way out to Enterprise.
I have an idea about this, that the Enterprise is not going in a straight line.
Well, they're not going in a straight line.
They're doing like a spiral, widening
spiral.
But
their whole point is like go to places that other ships have not been able to get to.
Sure.
But like the ship is just able to get out there in a couple days.
I agree with you.
Like, otherwise, like, what is the point of the Warp 5 engine if they're that close to Earth?
Right.
That implies that they could go back to Earth in a couple days. And the show definitely implies that they can't do that they're so far out. Yeah. It was really confusing. Like, I feel like it would have been more interesting. They could have just had them be like, whoa, this Borg ship is going Warp 5.8.
Right. Why not?
Right. Hmm?
Like, they had a way to just explain it. And instead, they're like it just does not make sense that the ship that is it was established as being much slower than the Enterprise was able to get out there so quickly. Because the other option is the Borg. They just, like, let the Borg ship be out there for months and months and months and didn't bother to do anything about it until it, like, got near Enterprise.
The problem was they really wanted a Borg episode. And they just didn't want to spend the time to actually craft that in a way that would work.
When they were like, oh, the ship got up to 3, just say that it got up to 5.8. And then obviously then you have the problem of it would have gotten away from the Enterprise, but then they could have just built in like the Enterprise shot an engine and now it can't go the same speed.
Speaking of that, I was infuriated by Malcolm's changes to the weapons that magically blew up the Borg.
Oh, it just increased the power setting?
Fuck, come on, man. It's the Borg.
But he just turned it to 11.
Right. Do not even. I was so like, there are people who have not watched Star Trek who made the decision to watch it in universe chronological order, right? We know at least one person who is doing that, watching it in universe chronological order. So can you imagine those people who have seen this episode and then they see the first episode with the Borg and they're like, oh, these fuckers, yeah, no problem, just fucking kill them, it's no big deal, you know how to kill them.
It wasn't a Borg ship though. It was like a different ship that they like.
Right. But even the like shooting the actual drones in Next Generation, they could get maybe one shot off and then they would you know,
Be overwhelmed.
just figure it out and change
Adapt.
their shields, adapt their shields.
Yeah, but these weren't normal. These were like shitty Borg because these were like broken
But they were
Borg.
future
They were
Borg.
future Borg, but they were like all broken, and there were only like a couple, and then they had to like turn the other humans into them, but they didn't have like all their normal technology, so they were like putting it together from other shit. These were Temu Borg. Like these were not normal Borg.
Amazing.
Oh my god, they were Kirkland brand Borg.
But speaking of Malcolm, he has no imagination. He is so close-minded. When he said, why would anyone want to replace perfectly good body parts? But
Yeah.
I thought it was especially weird because they've had so much contact with the Suliban, whose whole thing is genetic enhancements. And I
Right.
get like the enhancement, like Suliban, it's a different tech. It's genetic enhancements instead of like cyborg enhancements. But to me, genetic enhancement seems way scarier.
Right.
And they're just like doing it so they can like climb on ceilings and stuff. But Malcolm just being like, why would anyone want to get, where I'm like, I could think of a whole bunch of really good reasons to where you would want like cooler eyes or like stronger, faster legs or like something. Like I just
chainsaw arm.
it was just weird to me that Malcolm's like, why would anybody want to replace a good body part?
Agreed.
In fairness, the Borg do not have the world's best fashion sense. They look pretty clunky walking around. There's not.
That is true. They're not.
It's not a good
cool.
look.
I don't know. Everybody was so like chill about this, and I know that was the point, that we were supposed to be like, oh my god, it's the Borg, you guys should be more worried. But even after the Borg showed them how potentially they were still kind of chill about
they
it
were
all,
like,
you know?
oh, we just have to like change the settings on our phaser to make it work. Like they were like, they figured that out right away. It was like no big deal. Like, yeah, it was weird.
The most galling example of that for me is Phlox curing himself.
Oh my god.
Of the nanites.
Insane. I did like Phlox like having the like, oh, I could hear them and all of that. And that was
I was confused about that though, because I understand that Borg are hive mind, but I thought it's been established that they can't necessarily like, there's still like distance issues there, right? Like I think that they can only hive mind with others that are like close.
But I think
I guess maybe he was hearing the Borg from the other ship.
That's right. I think he was hearing, because I think at the end he said he heard the coordinates for Earth.
Yeah.
Right, which was why what was the whole problem was, and that would have come from the Borg on the other ship.
It doesn't even make sense. Even if they went back and they're like, "Oh yeah, like we crashed on this planet," why would the Borg bother to go there? Like,
well, because those were the future Borg who were they knew what was going to happen, so they had a mission.
Oh, right, they were the future Borg. Okay, I forgot. Yeah. I keep forgetting that.
It's all very annoying.
At one point, there were some Borg that were on the Enterprise as a boarding party.
Yes.
And then others of the Borg were still over on the Borg ship. And then Archer and Trip went over to the Borg ship because they were installing like some device that was like going to enable the ship. And then Archer and Trip beam back to the Enterprise as the device they left on the Borg ship goes off and disables that ship. And then immediately they showed the Borg that were on the Enterprise then beam back to the Borg ship, and
Not
I'm like,
explained.
why?
Never asked, never answered.
They were already on the Enterprise. Why did they beam
why
back?
not take
and
over
also,
that ship?
The Borg ship just got disabled, so how was the Borg ship able to beam them? I was like, maybe the Enterprise beamed them off, but I was like, why did the Borg beam off? They could have, now that their own ship is disabled, they had a bunch of them already on the Enterprise. They could have just taken the whole Enterprise.
So I sort of assume that all Borg have their own personal transporters, and they were called back and went back themselves. They beamed themselves back.
But like, why?
I don't know why. Like, maybe to help fix the problem.
But like, presumably. Stay on the Enterprise and just take this ship. There were like 5 of them. I feel like they could have 100% taken over the entire Enterprise and turned everybody on the Enterprise into Borgs.
It makes no sense. They just wanted a Borg episode.
So the other thing is the Borg boarded and did nothing. we never even saw them like interact with any, and it was like, well, then why have that at all? Like, just don't have the Borg go onto the Enterprise. Like, this episode it just felt like it wasn't well thought out.
No, it absolutely wasn't. And, I can think of, 5 plots that would be more interesting that you could say, like, even what was that episode with the self-building space station?
Yeah. Right.
Like, when I first watched that, I was like, oh, maybe this is like the beginning of the Borg. That could be really interesting. Like they do something or they run into some tech that will eventually become the Borg. That they're like,
that would have been so cool.
So cool, right? That would have been so cool.
Right.
But, they just wanted to have a Borg. They just wanted a Borg.
Some days you gotta have a Borg.
Yeah, and they were like, "We have to have resistance is futile." I guarantee they used that in the ad
Promo.
for it, and that was the whole purpose. Like, it was all about, we want to have a Borg, and we want people to see that we have a Borg, and then they're gonna watch the show. Look at our Borg.
Do you think it was a desperation move? Do you think it was like this whole we're not, your dad's Star Trek isn't working out anymore, we need to just get the fans back?
Maybe. I mean, but they also did that with the Ferengi, right? So I think they just they really did want to have these moments where they could touch back, and maybe you're right. Maybe it was like they were trying to get back their original fan base, but come on, man.
All right. Perhaps moving into a little bit of positivity here. Any thoughts on the Hoshi and Phlox interactions, which are usually a highlight for me? I just like the way these two characters and those two actors play things out. But
I don't remember.
She was trying.
Remind me what they did.
Oh,
she was trying to comfort him.
Trying to help him. Oh yeah, that was very sweet. I remember because when he
was
infected, she was there, and she was all like, "You've been there for me so much. I want to be there for you." And he was like, "I'm about to turn into a Borg. You need to leave."
Yeah,
it was very sweet.
In general, just like Phlox was so. I really loved all the Phlox stuff in this episode. The way you could. He really, you could see he was fighting so hard to try to solve this, but he also was facing reality and seemed to truly believe that he wasn't going to survive. And I think, in shows like this, it's like, we know they're not going to kill Phlox, right? We know that, that's not the kind of show this is. The show's not out here killing off its main characters. And so we know he's going to survive.
As much as we'd like it to be.
But the way that so there's often not tension when characters are their lives are hanging in the balance because we know they're going to survive. But stories like that can still work when you believe that the character really believes that they are going to die or that something very bad is going to happen. And it just and it gives you more you're learning more about the character. You're seeing how they react in this situation. And it's not like Malcolm just writing letters to his exes or whatever, which was so goddamn annoying. John Billingsley, what a treasure.
Yeah. And I mean, he was just I was going to say a man, but an individual dealing with his own mortality. And he's so good at that.
And he felt dealing with it quietly. It wasn't this over the top thing like the Malcolm writing the letters, but it was just you could see it as he got more and more desperate. So good.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the classic Best of Both Worlds episodes, nobody thought Picard was going to die, but holy shit, those were terrifying episodes. I was gripped by both of that. Obviously, there was that big cliffhanger and everything, and nobody really thinks, okay, they're going to kill off the main character from the show. I mean, I guess theoretically some people did.
Yeah, I thought people, I thought that.
Yeah, I think people did.
I think they really tried to be maybe we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, but he's the captain of the ship, and you're fairly sure they're going to find a way to make him okay. But Jesus Christ, those were some of the most powerful episodes of Star Trek. And also just the aftermath of all of it. They just handled it so well, and the impact on the character and how and the impact on Picard lasted a long time. There was a huge long tail, which is unusual for shows of that time, that he was still dealing with all of that. It would be nice to see Phlox be dealing with that after, but of course he won't.
I was amazed that they spent 10 minutes strictly setting up like this horror movie, which I thought was a
Yeah.
pretty effective short film. But
Yeah.
the crew, again, as to Maria's point, you have to be not an idiot, but not know who the Borg are, which is of course driving us crazy. But my favorite line is still the leader of the expedition. These people have like weapons attached to their body. It's like, oh, there's no reason to assume they're hostile.
Yeah, and meanwhile the things went.
Little ice chopper, yeah.
It makes no sense.
Let's talk costuming a little bit. We saw the winter wear for the Earth Science Council members here. Any thoughts on
Shiny.
that, or the aliens? Did you notice that the aliens had an emblem that looked like what I described as truck nuts?
Oh no, I missed that. I do not remember seeing the truck.
I remember you saying that, but I also did not remember to look at the
Okay,
truck
must
nuts.
must just be me then.
I will go and look at the screenshots for this episode and see.
I like the fact that the scientists weren't Starfleet. They were specifically like
Yeah, but then
scientists.
again,
Right.
it was confusing that they were talking with Admiral Forrest.
Well, he was coordinating because anyway.
I guess.
It's like if you find a crashed a Russian jet fighter, like the Department of Defense is going to get involved at some point.
Yeah.
So now we have had the Borg, the Klingons, of course, the Vulcans, of course, have always been there. The
Ferengi.
Andorians, the Ferengi, and the Romulans. We've had
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
we've had real first contact.
Man,
and we had-
it really. It's
You
one thing to
guys-
do like one of those, but
Oh
it
my god, they are
annoys
truck
me.
nuts.
Oh my god, those are 100% truck nuts.
What is a transport ship?
Oh my god, that's so funny. Okay. It's one thing to be like, we're gonna shock everyone by like, actually, the first
Right.
Romulans were in Enterprise or whatever, but to do it over and over and over again with
Right.
all these different, like, it really bothers me. It feels like it takes away from later stuff.
Yeah.
Like, also just like create something new, like do something new. Like, it just feels like rehashing.
I feel like it definitely works with the classic races because we know what the end point of this show is. We know where they're heading. So for them to
Right.
do things like, okay, we've met the Vulcans in First Contact. Here's the first time humanity has met Klingons. That's fine. The Romulans is a little bit more iffy just because there's backstory with that. And there
Right.
are a bunch of other races where we don't know where the first time they met the Andorians.
Yeah, like do that
That's
stuff.
fair game. That's all fair game. And they do a lot of new races, mostly bumpy skull-looking humans. But to do the things that fuck with the continuity,
Yeah, and it makes
They're not
Starfleet
pulling
look
it
so
off.
stupid. Like, it makes Starfleet
Yeah.
look like they don't keep any records, that nobody pays attention to anything. Like, nobody at any point realized, like, that the new Borg creatures were the same as the old Borg creatures. Like, did
Right.
nobody write anything down? They even figured out the stuff about, like, oh, we have to, like, change this setting on the phaser. Like, write that shit
You got to
down.
change the phase. That was a huge deal that they figured that out in Next Generation. If you remodulate the phasers, it can work. Or if you keep remodulating them, they will, it will be
And then this,
too-
they just, like, figured it out right away. But it's like, write that shit down.
Write that shit down.
Yeah.
It just was like, I again, if they did it one time, if this was just the Borg, or we had just the Ferengi, or I really feel like the Romulan one worked the best, and maybe that's just because I'm less familiar with the
Right.
continuity stuff, but I do feel like that was not like we're keeping it secret. That was just like, we didn't actually see them. It was audio only,
Right.
but they knew who they were talking to. So
Right.
to me, like, that worked a little better, but I just like pick one and do it one time, but you can't do it with every single species that we have already seen the future first contact for.
right?
I'm curious. So we are real close to the end of season 2, guys. How did we get here? And we've all heard that it gets better in later seasons, and they sort of find their rhythm a little bit better in seasons 3 and certainly in season 4. And I wonder if this season was the season where things were not going so well. And as you said, maybe they
Right.
were like, oh, I guess this not your dad Star Trek thing isn't working. And maybe we should try to appeal to the original fans of Star Trek and try to bring those guys back. So let's bring in all of the characters that have worked really, all of the aliens that have worked really well.
Was it Ferengi first season though?
Yeah, you're probably right, but
I
I'm
just think that these writers don't have a lot of imagination.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we just came up with like 2 plots that would be better served to have the Borg that would still involve the Borg that we would do better. And we do this all the time on this show. And yes, of course, we have 20 years of experience and can, backseat drive all we want, but we're not wrong either.
It was nice hearing last week from Phil talking about like what it felt like at the time and like how like when he found out that the Borg were going to be on, it felt like this huge secret. It felt like a really, really big deal. So I'm sure that is why they were doing this, right? This was probably Sweeps Week, and they're getting people excited about like the show because like, oh my God, the Borg are back. But it feels lazy to me.
They could have accomplished all of those things and written a better episode that involved the Borg. Like, even if you want to bring in all of them, bring in as many as you want, but do it in a smart way that thinks about this alien race and how it has impacted humanity in the previous shows. And you can make that's how storytelling works, guys. You can make anything up you want.
This is the kind of thing that works as a short story or as a something aside where, some scientist discovers the Borg that crashed on first contact, and then everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
They blow up the base and vaporize the entire thing.
So good.
And that's how that story, but this is a main continuity show. Which,
that they couldn't have done something like that in Enterprise. But that would have been a really cool like novel or whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next section, which are read alerts. And let me remind you, they are read, R-E-A-D, where you get messages and read them, and you are alerted to them. Jamie, what are our read alerts for this episode?
We have so many. So the first one is from Joe, who is the guy that I met at Dragon Con.
Hi, Joe!
And he sent over his recollection of some of the things we chatted about, which was helpful because, to be fully honest, I was drinking when I met him and did not remember.
I mean, it was
everything.
Dragon Con, so you don't. That's
it was
redundant.
Like 1 a.m. in the lobby of like the 20 whatever floor of the Hilton. Okay, so remember when there was the episode where they were going to the shipyard to upgrade the weapons system? But then Malcolm and Trip were being all weird about it, and they were like, no, like, we're gonna work overtime to do it ourselves. And we were like, this is toxic masculinity. Like, these men just go to the stupid shipyard. Well, Joe worked on a ship and in the military and was trained. So he said that they were trained to take ownership of the equipment that they're responsible for. And he said in the reactor controls department, which is so cool that I can't believe
really
I
cool,
know. I'm
man.
like, can't believe that's where he was working.
Super intimidated.
Yeah, super bummed that I didn't get to meet you, but also I would have been just as drunk, so kind of glad I didn't get to meet you.
But he says that he would never have touched equipment that didn't belong to their department. And he would assume that nobody outside their department would ever touch their equipment because there's like records of what everybody's worked on and what's been done. And like mission critical stuff, like if it's not properly functioning, it can cause harm. Like it can be a big problem. And he said that he would always want to be the one to work on it so that he knew it was done correctly. Yeah. And that a lot of times in shipyards, like the shipyards would do the work and then they would end up having to redo it because they're the ones like with it all the time, like living on the ship with it. And they know it so much better. He was basically
that makes a lot of sense.
I get it. These guys do suck and do have masculinity problems, but like in this case, this actually, he was like, no, this is like how it works in the Navy.
Sure, you want to do it yourself because you're the one who's gonna be putting your life in its hands, you know.
And also, so when we met, I asked him about, so I've been curious, actually, like other people like write in, when you listen to our show, are you also watching the Enterprise episodes? Are you watching them?
When?
And are you watching them before you listen to our episode or after? Joe said that he listens after. And I remember I was drunk and I was like, you're doing it wrong. It's so boring that way. You gotta, I'm like, if you're gonna watch the episodes, you watch them first. But I think that's just because I always find that after I've heard the explainer, I find watching the episodes quite boring. Because I already got a better version of it.
So I listened to a handful of like rewatch podcasts. Like I listened to the psych one, and I quite enjoy. Now I've seen all of Psych, but I do quite enjoy listening to the episode and then watching it, because then I can kind of pick all the references, like, oh, this is what they were talking about, and understand that, so I can kind of tie what they were saying back to it, so I kind of see it in the context of the show. Okay, so that's kind of interesting.
Wild, because I love a recap podcast. Currently, Boards, Gore, and Swords recently did, what did they do? Oh, they did Pluribus. And
Pluribus.
I would never listen to the podcast episode before watching the episode of the show. I guess
but
that's
I've
different
seen
too,
the
because
show
that's
before.
also, yeah, it's like I usually like it for newer shows that I'm watching. Interesting.
But for an older show that I've already seen, I definitely want to hear the podcast first and then watch the episode.
Weird. That's so interesting, because I would never even think to do it in that.
Cool. Way. I wonder what other... I am very curious as to what people do, if they watch it. I mean, I think there's probably... I hope there's probably people who listen to the podcast but don't watch the show.
Yeah, for their own sanity.
We don't want to encourage anybody to do that, but I mean...
They might make more of it. What do you think?
I mean, a lot of people have told us that they have started watching the show again, or started watching the show for the first time because of us. Paramount really should be paying us. Somebody else is there. I do feel like it's like half the people watching this show are watching because of us. I mean, who else is watching it?
Well, there was a whole thing, right? When Paramount put all the Star Trek on, Enterprise got a resurgence because a bunch of people were like, I've never heard of this show. Let me watch it. And so a bunch of people started watching Enterprise. It was right around the time we started doing this. So I don't think we can take credit for all of it, but I do think that...
Anyways, Joe, I look forward to seeing you next year in the lobby of the VIP floor of the Hilton again for the third year in a row. Because he found out about the podcast, because 2 years ago, I ran into him in the same place. He was just a random person. And then I started chatting and I was like, do you want to know about my podcast? I have a podcast. We also got an email from regular listener Rachel.
Rachel has
and then our irregular listener Rachel chimed in. She had some hot takes.
Well, Rachel's written so many times.
Consistent listener.
We got a second email that I'm not even doing this time. We'll do it another time. But she has a question for us. She wants us to know, how do you deal emotionally with watching Enterprise after Quantum Leap?
That's a great question. It's very hard for me. I've said this before, I love Scott Bakula because of Quantum Leap. And it's really hard for me to because I dislike Archer so much. And that is not, I mean,
fair
it's hard.
To Scott Bakula. I mean, he's an
actor. It's not fair.
It's
not, and it's not at all fair to Scott Bakula. And I haven't watched anything else. I don't think I've seen much else that Scott Bakula has done since Quantum Leap or this, but he
was in that one episode of Only Murders in the Building.
Isn't he on one of those investigative shows?
Yeah, he's on like an NCIS or one of those, which I have not seen. But it is hard. I agree. I think it's quite difficult for me.
It would be one thing if he was just playing a bad guy. Like, if it's very interesting to me to watch actors I love who are very, like, I have a lot of sympathy for it, to come in and play a bad person in an episode. The problem is the show isn't written very well, and it thinks that Archer is a good guy. Yeah. And the dissonance is aggravating to me.
That's my problem with it.
I have a whole new headcanon, you guys. So you know how in Quantum Leap, Sam Beckett leaps into a person, and that person leaps into not into Sam Beckett, but they go to the
waiting room.
The waiting room. What if they did leap into Sam Beckett? And so but that's who Archer is. So he's a different person every episode because actual Archer is leaping into somebody. And so, of course, it's some random person. And of course, it's not going to be consistent. This is my new headcanon. I think that works.
Rachel said her opinion is that when she thinks of watching Enterprise, she imagines how unhappy Scott Bakula must have been playing Archer after playing a character who actually respects women in a progressive show.
Right? Yeah. I wonder, like, and somebody, just not even that, like, just somebody who has empathy. Like, sure. Scott Bakula in Quantum Leap was an empathy machine. Like, that was what he did. And Archer has none of that. He is a narcissist. But that's what being an actor is too, right? Like,
being a narcissist. As a former actor, I agree.
Well, yeah, I was being married to one, yeah. But I mean, no, but I mean, it's for an actor. I'm sure it's cool to play very different roles, and this is a very different role for Scott Bakula. So yeah, maybe he liked it.
She also had a PS where she said, because I know I've mentioned not watching much New Trek, that she recommends I watch Discovery because it's an empowering watch and would be even more so now in our time of white supremacy and fascism, at least in the US. And I want to say that I am watching Discovery, mainly because Starfleet Academy just came out, and you guys know I love me some teen drama. I love just like a teen soap, which is what it looks like it maybe is. But I have heard that you really need to watch Discovery first. So I'm like, fine, I'll watch Discovery. So I'm watching Discovery so that I can eventually watch Starfleet Academy.
I have a lot of thoughts on Starfleet Academy, and I would love to do an away mission at some point to talk about it. Not necessarily
maybe when the
season's
you haven't
done.
Watched it. Well, I mean, we're getting through Discovery. I mean, obviously when we're watching, because it's all out. By the time in Starfleet Academy, I don't think it's even going to have that many episodes. By the time this is done, and then Starfleet, then we can. It shouldn't be that long after Starfleet Academy ends.
It will be very interesting because so far we're 4 episodes in, and so far I'm like, I love all the adults. I'm not so sure about all the children. And I think that, Jamie, you are there for the children and all of their drama. And I just, some of them are fascinating and I'm super interested in their storylines. But some of them I'm like, I just don't give a shit about your drama.
Are they like,
and so I am very
I'm just confused because like I saw the trailer and I'm like, why aren't they going to class? Why aren't they? It just was like, it just like didn't look like what I wanted it to be. I want them like in and out of classes and like studying, and
it's a little...
90210, they never went to class. They went to school to hang out in the hallways in front of their lockers.
But that's what I want is I want them like hanging out in the hallways in front of their lockers, and I want them like interacting with teachers.
Well, I mean, it's
and,
college, so
yeah,
it's not
high
high
school. I know it's a
school.
little different, but still.
Think of it as semester at sea.
Okay. We got an email from an old fan of ours, old fan, like pre this podcast fan. Many listeners may not know, but Maria and I used to be bloggers on a snarky little feminist science blog called Skepchick.
Sounds vicious.
Yeah, I was going to say otherwise known as Rebecca's Vicious Group, which you might have heard from the Epstein Files.
God.
This is true.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I brought this up in the group chat. You guys need to stop being so proud that you are in the Epstein Files.
We are in the Epstein Files on the right side of history.
Lead with that statement.
We are in the Epstein Files because horrible men were complaining about how scared they were of But one of our old fans and regular commenters, and someone we've definitely also met in person at cons way back in the day, Maria, you'll probably remember, Bill, I'm not sure, Buzz Persek.
Buzz Persek!
Yeah.
Hi!
Was his commenter name. He sent us an email. So he learned about our podcast from Rebecca after we had Rebecca on the episode, and then went back and listened to the whole thing. And just wanted to email us and let us know how much he loved it.
Nice.
Ah, so great. I love that.
Also, he said that when he was in junior high school, his French teacher, Mr. Siegel, apparently one day was just like, have any of you heard of this new TV show? My friend's in it. And his friend was Leonard Nimoy.
Oh! Kick ass.
So apparently, like, he started listening, like, way back, like, original series from the beginning because of, like, this teacher that he had. So anyways.
So cool.
Yeah, it was fun to hear from you, John.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then he said he did, like everybody else, watch Enterprise when it originally aired and doesn't really remember any of it.
Yeah.
But that Phlox cutting his toenails, that he had suppressed that, and then when we mentioned it, he said he had a horrible flashback.
Oh, I'm so sorry we triggered you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for that.
Oops.
And lastly, we got an email from Bill, not our Bill, different Bill.
There are more Bills?
It says, Bill is awesome. He should be on the show more. You should all listen. Whenever Bill's not on the show, you should look sad.
The thing that I wanted to share with you guys is a drawing. 1 second. So Bill, the listener, not you.
Oh.
Bill, the listener.
Basically, this drawing that I'm going to show you guys is he apparently made it very recently for the cover of a fan club newsletter that he's a part of, and it was just like really nice. And I was like, I need to show you guys. Isn't it good?
Cool.
So good. I'm
gonna put a link to it in the show notes because I was just like, I could not stop looking at this. This is so nice. I like want to print of
beautiful
this for the listeners because if you're able to, if you're not driving, go into the show notes and check it out. But it's basically like a view of Starfleet Academy with the what's the bridge.
The Bay Bridge.
The Golden Gate Bridge.
The Golden Gate Bridge in the background. Did you guys notice in the window at the top, you can actually kind of see the bridge through the window? It's just the attention to detail in this is so good.
Beautiful. Yeah, this is great.
And that's the episode. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to everyone who wrote in. Next episode, Maria will be telling us about the episode First Flight.
It's what they named the other Enterprise podcast.
First Flight.
First Flight.
Name of
podcast. Yes.
It's named after that episode.
Special thanks to our producer K.O. Myers at Particulate Media, especially for this episode, which went way off the rails, and to our friend David for the beautiful cover art. John Stephen King, you know we love you. You're the voice of our computer. If you like this show, please rate, review, and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Just take a few seconds. We like it. It makes us happy. What do you got to lose? Nothing. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook as @EnterpriseSplaining and on Blue Sky as @EnterpriseSplain. You can also email us any comments as, no, seriously, what was cut out of this episode? I heard Epstein, but, and then everything cut out immediately. We would love to hear from you. And if you want to support this podcast, you can find us on Buy Me a Coffee as Enterprise Planning. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Those are the read alerts. Thank you to everyone. I'm sorry. Wow, that was loud even for me.
I need you to be here. You're here.
So here at Build 9, I need you to be at Build 3.
I thought you said Bill Nye. I'm like, Bill Nye known for being really loud?
You're Bill Nye. I need you to be Bill Nighy.
There are a lot of great podcasts that review Doctor Who episodes in order. The Earth Station Who podcast is not one of them. Just like the Doctor, we never know where or when we'll end up, but we'll have a lot of fun talking about it. From classic Who to new series and big finish, join the Earth Station Who crew wherever fine podcasts are found. Earth Station Who is a founding member of the ESO Network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.